Hey everybody, it's Party Elite, and with the Steam Autumn Sale underway from now until the 1st of December, I thought we'd take a look at some of the great deals out there that I personally think are absolutely worth highlighting. As is the nature of this channel, these are all primarily games that include some degree of strategic or tactical thinking. Without any more time to waste, let's begin. The fact that Crusader Kings 3 is already on sale for 20% off is a bit of a surprise. The game only just released at the start of September, and have already drained countless hours into this medieval-era strategy game where you play as a noble line anywhere from Iceland to the Horn of Africa, and from the Canary Islands over to Western Burma. A top contender for my Game of the Year, the game is a great change of pace from the typical strategy game, introducing and making integral the concepts of family, dynasty, and court drama on top of the usual hallmarks of warfare and diplomacy. The ruler designer that was just recently added on for free allows you to make a starting character from scratch to your liking, or you can opt to start as one of the pre-existing and typically historically accurate options across the map. An easy way to lose hundreds of hours of your life in the most entertaining way possible, Crusader Kings 3 is easy for me to recommend at full price, so at just $45, it's even easier for me to suggest that you pick it up. This is definitely the priciest sale item that we're talking about in this list today, but considering the game is merely months old and is already slashing prices, I thought it was well worth highlighting the deal. From earlier this year, Desperados 3 revives a classic IP in great style, bringing us a prequel story. Playing the previous games in the series is not a necessity, especially since this is a prequel, but if you want to pick them up, they're on sale right now as well. A tactical stealth action game from the same folks that brought us Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun, Desperados 3 is set in the Wild West, having you take charge of an unlikely band of heroes, using their specific capabilities in tandem to solve a variety of problems that often require a degree of finesse, but can just as often be accomplished guns blazing. The gunslinging, knife-flinging John Cooper, the brutish trapper Hector Mendoza, the seductive and alluring Kate O'Hara, the medically inclined Doc McCoy, and the mind-controlling, magic-wielding Isabel Moreau make for an excellent set of characters and mechanics, and the enemy, level, and challenge design is just absolutely spectacular. A phenomenal game for fans of the genre, and a great introduction for anybody who is unfamiliar with the genre at 40% off. $30 is a very low price for a game that continues to receive support both free and paid, with more challenges being added relatively constantly, and the element of self-made challenge available there to further bolster the longevity and replayability of the game. Command & Conquer Remastered Collection. What can I say? This is how you remaster a classic, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a fan of the classic Command & Conquer and Red Alert, this is an excellent way to experience the games all over again. If you've never played them and are fans of real-time strategy games, I highly recommend it. These are genre-defining classics, and though some of the mechanics and systems and UI might feel a little out of place or dated or even strange compared to modern expectations, the $17 price tag at 35% off is well worth the two games to experience that, sort of bygone era of strategy game design that has led to where we are today in many ways. The included DLC is an excellent add-on, the remastered music, the map editor, and just extra fan service elements are great as well, like all of the extra footage. A functioning multiplayer, the option to switch between modern and classic graphics, and a hit of nostalgia, all perfectly executed. The successful release of this remastered collection, in all honesty, was a pleasant surprise, and this sale price makes the purchase an easy decision. The Total War Warhammer series will have me breaking my rules a little here, recommending a bunch of titles under one heading, but bear with me, it's worth it. Total War Warhammer 1 and 2 are currently on sale alongside all of their DLC. The first game of the planned trilogy is currently 75% off, so just under $18, and the second game of the trilogy is just under $24. All the DLC, as I said, is on sale. It's available for anywhere between 10 to 50% off, and the third game of the trilogy will likely take advantage of all of the previous DLC and the previous games. Just like Game 2 took advantage of Game 1 and all of its DLC, I expect the same to happen with Game 3. So, if you like the Warhammer Fantasy Battles universe and you like the Total War blend of turn-based empire building and real-time battles, it's a good time to grab all the parts that you're missing. And if that means grabbing everything, that's a great call. Creative Assembly has certainly gotten very creative throughout the development and post-launch support of these games. With extremely varied factions and wildly interesting characters from the world of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, there are hours upon hours upon hours of entertainment to be had here. You don't have to pick up everything all at once either. There's plenty of free updating that's happened to the base games, and any DLC factions are available to the AI whether you own the DLC or not. Buying the DLC just lets you play as said factions, either in single or multiplayer. So, buy what you want now, save the rest for later when you get curious about a new faction, but definitely check this series out. I imagine we'll see Game 3 launch at some point late next year or so, and if that's the case, you want to either, dip your toes and get familiar with the series, or just, again, fill in all the gaps if you've already been playing the series, and make sure you have all the DLC in place. Super cheap right now, highly recommended. Steel Division 2 released in the middle of last year, and it more or less consumed me for every weekend for months on end, becoming one of my top games of 2019. A sequel to Steel Division Normandy 44, Steel Division 2 is a World War II game from the folks that brought us the War Game series, and it focuses on the Eastern Front and the Soviet push towards Berlin. With a full-fledged campaign mode that has you managing your battalions, determining ideal corridors for movement, and breaking through enemy lines, Steel Division 2 transitions between the campaign map mode and the massive real-time battles in a way its predecessors never have. The real-time battles are where the game really shines, though, having you lead massive contingents of air and ground forces against your enemies across varied battlefields, taking advantage of lines of sight, covering artillery fire, sneaky recon units, and all manner of utility units, alongside the, of course, large variety of infantry and armored units as well. Multiplayer can be intense 1v1 standoffs or massive 10v10 affairs where teamwork is vital, with players bringing in their customized decks built off of various regiments on either side of the war. This is a game where everything from the armor thickness on any one side of a tank to the ammo type that a certain anti-tank gun is using to stealth capabilities all factor into every engagement. Steel Division 2 is ridiculous amounts of fun, and right now it is 66% off, meaning it's just around that $17 mark. I also recommend grabbing the DLC, but you can just as easily wait until you're done having fun with the base game options, and then you can explore the DLC when you want some more of those campaigns and some more unit options and regiment options as well. Though it's been around for 5 years now, Battle Brothers remains tremendously relevant with a new DLC that has dropped in recent times, and with the fact that it's an extremely fun game to play. An RPG with turn-based tactical battles, you lead a band of mercenaries and take on various quests as you build your own story in this world, expanding your capabilities, taking on bigger and bigger threats, gaining more skills, and losing many brothers along the way. Most easily summarized as a fantasy turn-based version of Bannerlord, if you will, a very inventive game with extremely fun takes on said fantasy threats. Battle Brothers is intricate in ways that might not seem immediately apparent. But then you find yourself stripping naked before a battle against nightmare-invading monsters, and you realize that this game is about much, much more than just praying to the dice gods and clicking the same buttons over and over again, looking at the biggest numbers at any given scenario and knowing that bigger is better. There are nuances, there are details, and there are situations where, again, it's an example from the game, where rather than have the heaviest, most capable armor, you would rather strip naked and fight these nightmare-invading beasts. This is an actual thing that happens in game, and it's hilarious and also an important lesson to learn. There's an impressive amount of depth, coupled with an honestly punishing experience even on medium difficulty. The random map seeds, the constant sense of challenge, and the top-tier writing and charming art all come together to make Battle Brothers a game that I can always return to for a quick bout. At 50% off for just under $17, the game is an absolute steal. It's honestly worth more than its full price tag, even as a 5-year-old game now. So getting it at 50% off, it's a ridiculous. Just do it. It's amazing. From 2018, BattleTech brings you more solid turn-based tactical action from the BattleTech universe, as you may have guessed. At 75% off, costing just around $11, the game is a great deal of fun with or without the DLC. If you'd like to grab it all, the total savings come to about 66%, bringing the price to $35. There's a storyline campaign mode, there's a multiplayer mode as well, and my personal favorite, there's a mode that was added post-launch, allowing you to simply lead the mercenary life. Hop planet to planet, chasing contracts, making money, picking up salvaged parts, and upgrading your mechs, pilots, and ship, all to test your mettle and see how long you can keep your lance active and alive. A very sandbox, free-form mode that brings longevity to the game and allows you to pick it up over and over again in your downtime. The modding scene is also fairly active, and though I personally haven't had the chance to try it out yet, the BattleTech mod has many hardcore fans that swear by it as a great way to experience the game with even more features, more mechs, and more purpose. Modded or not, BattleTech is a great way to get some tactical mech-on-mech action in your life. I had a great time with the game when it first came out, and it remains top of mind for me from time to time to go back to, especially with the aforementioned sandbox mode. Frostpunk is one of those games that really flips the genre on its head. We don't get them often enough, but within your first hour of playing the survival city builder Frostpunk, you realize you've come across something new and special and fresh, and you kick yourself for not having played it sooner. Set in a Victorian-era post-apocalyptic past, the base game has multiple scenarios in which you're trying to help your small group of survivors make it through an ice age. Struggling with all the issues one can expect of such a climate shift, you have to consider the scarcity of resources, the generation and maintenance of heat, and the overall needs of the people in general, from food to happiness to medical attention. On top of it all come the moral dilemmas, actual, tangible decision-making with actual, tangible impacts. Sure, let children work the mines, but you risk their death and the sadness that comes with it. Give people proper breaks at work, it's the right thing to do, but then you risk a significant loss of productivity, potentially shutting down your supply of heat, leading to mass deaths. Research technologies to make your people and equipment more efficient, enact laws to balance said efficiency with happiness, send explorers out into the snowy wasteland to find more resources or survivors, and just try to avoid the complete shutdown and collapse of your society. 66% off the base game puts it at $11, and you can get the Game of the Year edition for 55% off. That gives you all the DLC included for just $33. Now, you can start with just the base game, it's got plenty to do, but the DLC is very much worth the investment as well. I would suggest getting it all at once. The DLC introduces interesting twists on the narratives and mechanics, and it keeps this extremely fresh game even fresher. Set during the height of the Cold War, Phantom Doctrine has you taking charge of one of 3 Secret Service agencies, working away at a web of lies and conspiracies to uncover the truth. I won't tell you what about, no spoilers. At 80% off, the game is available for just $10, and I'd say it's very much worth that price tag. Though the middle section of the game does feel a little repetitive in all honesty, just because of its sort of generated missions, the overall experience more than makes up for it. You spend time acquiring intel while out on missions, often going out of your way just so you have more to work with as you look through the various pieces of intel you've gathered, trying to connect the literal threads to find your next major objective. You try to capture enemy agents, hoping to interrogate, turn, or otherwise use them to your advantage, and at the same time, you have to be on your toes in case one of your own agents turns out to be a mole in the middle of a mission. In fact, if your agents get captured during a mission and then eventually released, you have to ask yourself, did they manage to escape, or were they released with an alternative mission? There's this constant sense of doubt and worry that the game is able to execute very nicely, which I haven't seen done very often in these games. You'll find yourself researching new equipment, maintaining agent anonymity, and flying them around the world performing recon, counterintelligence, and more. Tactical battles aren't necessarily always battles either, especially if you manage to cut power to the cameras or get disguises for your operatives. This dedication to espionage is what really makes Phantom Doctrine stand out. It only rarely throws that out the window for plot and drama purposes, but the primary source of tension is definitely that Cold War espionage drama feel. Again, not something we often get in this subgenre, but certainly something we could use more of. Phantom Doctrine, $10, support the style, support the approach, and maybe we'll get more games like it. Personally, a big fan of the time period and espionage topics in general, and I feel like Phantom Doctrine does a really good job of it sort of 9 out of 10 times. A historical squad-based strategy game, Ancestors Legacy feels like an homage to Company of Heroes set across multiple distinct moments in a variety of historical settings across 4 single-player campaigns. At least that's in the base game, which is currently 75% off, costing just $10. If you get the DLC, which is on sale for just $3, you'll get access to one additional campaign. In multiplayer, which you can also play versus AI bots, you'll find 4 playable factions in the base game, and the Saracens are added through the Saladin's Conquest DLC, again, available for just $3 extra. Now, it is an homage to Company of Heroes, but it does build, of course, on that base foundation. Base building, while present, is a little prefabricated to keep the focus on combat. The capture points that are required to generate resources have their own defensive capabilities, but they will need player assistance to keep the villagers alive and acquiring resources. Dynamic weather and day-night cycles have actual tactical effects on things like unit speed, the rate at which buildings can be set alight, and even line of sight. On which note, there are some fairly interesting stealth mechanics as well, with a decent focus on things like setting traps and ambushes, and even a good focus on unit morale damage with flanking and rear charges and the like. The need for clever tactical maneuvering makes combat much more interesting in terms of the type of micromanagement that the game asks of you. It's not so much about spamming clicks as much as it's about planning them. I would say this one is definitely worth picking up, especially on sale like this, and even if you can't grab a few buddies to play multiplayer with, the AI does provide a fair enough challenge, and the single-player campaigns provide ample playtime with some very interesting scripted moments as well. Highly recommend Ancestors Legacy. I feel like it kind of came and went in the public eye, but I still enjoy it, and I still think back upon my time with it very fondly. So if you haven't picked it up or checked it out yet, now's the time. There you have it. 10 awesome autumn Steam sale picks for the sale this year. Most of these will keep you occupied for months, if not years to come, with a seasonal revisiting. These are some of my favorites that I've played over the last few years, and I think that at their current price points, they're absolute steals. Now, are there any games on sale right now that have piqued your interest but I haven't mentioned here? Anything you think people should check out? Let us know in the comments down below. I'm always on the lookout for more to add to my own set of recommendations, and again, there's so many games out there now between indie and AAA studios. There's so much to check out. It'd be nice to see what other people are playing. As always, a massive thanks goes out to all of my channel members and patrons for supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big ol' thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.